Howdy, I'm Ben Solak. This is the play sheet. The opening script. All the rookies are pretty good. 2 weeks in, and I'm willing to call it. The 2023 NFL draft class is the best one we've ever seen. Not really, but it's been good. Texans quarterback CJ Stroud and Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson have both been great. Richardson had to leave week 2 with a concussion, which sucks, but he's looked like way more pro ready than anybody thought he would. And Stroud looks accurate and decisive and aggressive. There have been good plays on Stroud's film. Look at that throw. Look at when he releases this. And where Nico Collins is and where that linebacker is. That's a throw. Then there's the non-quarterbacks, like Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter. Go Birds. Carter's got 11 pressures on the season, which is first among all defensive tackles right now. And he's got 10 hurries, which is tied for first among all defensive linemen right now. That includes edge rushers. And then there's Bijan Robinson, the running back out of Texas, who the Falcons took at 8 overall. Bijan is 3rd in the league right now in rushing yards over expectation per attempt. He's got 10 rushes with at least 4 yards after contact. He had 172 yards from scrimmage, which is like a top 20 number for any player in their first 2 games of their career. And he just looks so good. Zay Flowers looks nice. Jordan Addison looks nice. Will Anderson looking real nice. Christian Gonzalez, Manny Forbes, good. Everybody's looking good, but nobody looks better than Puka Nacua. If you didn't know who Puka Nacua was during the pre-draft process, that's okay. He wasn't super productive at BYU. He wasn't super huge at the combine. He didn't test. He tested at his pro day. It wasn't that great. He was at the Senior Bowl, but the Senior Bowl tends to be like for middle round receivers to try to bust into day 2, and he didn't shine necessarily there. He ended up being the last pick of the 5th round, 177th overall to the Los Angeles Rams. If you don't know who Puka Nacua is now, that's on you. Nacua has set multiple receiving records in just 2 games as a rookie. He has the total receptions over 2-game record at 25. He has the single game record at 15. He is the first player to start his career with consecutive 10 catch 100-yard performances. Again, this guy had 107 catches in 4 years of college. And in 2 games as a professional, he's got 25. All of this begs the question, how'd this cat end up in the 5th round? And how's he doing this now? And to answer that, we go to play action. The thing that you're seeing the Rams do a lot this year is they're going to motion a lot into stacks and bunches. We're going to see that like all over this film. And they're going to be motioning Higbee, and they're going to be motioning Tutu Atwell, who's very fast. And Nacua is going to be the guy like on the line of scrimmage. He's going to be the point man. And typically, like when the Dolphins do all this motion, for example, they're doing it to throw the ball to this guy. They're doing it to like throw the ball to Tyreek Hill to prevent him from being pressed. The Rams are just throwing it to Nacua, and the route that they're getting him on the most is this like 10-12 yard stop route where he just kind of sits down in space. And the best thing you can say about Nacua through 2 weeks, the reason why he's done so well at this is he's super QB friendly and he's always where he's supposed to be. He's a reliable catcher. And what I really like is how quickly he gets his eyes back to the quarterback. We see that on this play. So we're going to motion Higbee and snap the football. There's the stop route. Nacua, he knows he's going to get tapped here right by the linebacker. He knows he's going to get a little bit of a bump. So he extends his arm, make sure that he has positioning. And then even as he's settling into the route just now, like he's just starting to slow down his momentum. Look at his eyes. Snap back, right? Snap back to Stafford. It's not the cleanest stop. See how it like takes him a couple steps to settle down? And we're going to talk about Nakua's route running a little bit later, but it doesn't matter that it's not clean because he's got a little bit of a cushion and he gets his eyes right back, which means Stafford can just tattoo him with this ball and he makes a nice catch. Now, after the catch, watch what his eyes do again, right? So here comes the ball. He looks into his hands, but the second he's got it, his eyes flip back around again, right? His helmet turns to see where that corner is. And that's Nakua's like weirdly good after the catch. The thing that he does the most that reminds me of Cooper Kupp is being good after the catch without like looking like a guy who's supposed to be good after the catch. And it's because he's got good anticipation. He's got good spatial awareness, right? So he's going to flip his head. All right, I see where the corner's coming in from. I can extend an arm. And I can kind of get around him. He doesn't really break tackles, Nacua does, but he survives contact really well. And so stick that arm out, flip around, and pick up some dirty yardage. That's like an unspectacular play, but that's what Nacua is doing that's really good. And critically, like the other receivers who could have had a chance to become Nacua over the course of the last couple of years with Stafford, like Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell, Ben Skoranek, those players weren't like trustworthy. They weren't reliable. They weren't consistent. And Nacua is like immediately earning Matthew Stafford's trust. All right, so we're in a stack again. Puka's in the front. We've got a press man right now. Again, Puka's been running this route like a lot, which the Seahawks don't know this yet. It's the fourth quarter of the first game, but this is the route that they've been working this area of the field. If you're going to develop into more of a receiver, though, you have to be able to run other breaking routes off of this stem. So you have to be able to run like this dig and run this out cut. And it's the out cut that they get on this play. Again, we go motion, right? And this time we snap it right when Tutu Atwell gets into the bunch. And what's cool about that is watch it move this corner, right? Initially, press man coverage. Now the Seahawks are trying to communicate this motion and a little bit of uncertainty here, and all of a sudden Puka's got a free inside release, and this is a mandatory inside release. He's got to go inside, right? Get some of the switch action, and now with this corner inside leverage, safety on top of you, you have to get around that corner and into the sideline on the flag route. And Stafford, this is a trust ball, right? When Stafford releases this is not a pretty picture. He's trusting that Tutu's going to pull him away, and that Nacua, look at the arm, generate a little separation, is going to be able to make this catch. Difficult catch. 2 feet in bounds. Now, the funny thing about all of Puka's production is that he's not like great at running routes, which sounds like a crazy thing to say for someone who has 25 catches over 2 games, but he isn't. This is where he was raw coming out of college. He's got like work to do on this. And that's actually good news, because when a guy has 25 catches over 2 games and is not that great at running routes yet, think about how many catches he could have if he's good at running routes. We're going to get the same look as we've been getting, right? They're going to motion Tutu Atwell. This is Puka Nacua here in the slot. They're going to motion him to the stack, and then they're going to release, right? Like I said, we've been living on these 10-yard stems. We've seen him run the curl. We've seen him run the flag. Now he's going to run this dig, right? Now, we're just going to run it, and watch how easily this gets covered up here. I mean, the corner is right on it, right? He's on it the entire way, undercuts the window, incomplete pass. Why'd the corner get on that so successfully? When we play it slowly, I want you to watch Puka's shoulders and his chest, right? When he comes off the line, see how he's in this down running position, right? When you come off the line in your stem, you want to threaten that you're going vertical at all times. You always want to sell like, hey, I'm coming up field and I'm coming up fast. So that's what Puka's doing right now. But as he gets downfield, see how his chest comes upright? Look at the body planning right here. See how far his shoulders are ahead of his hips are ahead of his toes. And then when we get 5 yards down the field, see how the shoulders have gotten now just directly on top of the hips, and the hips are just directly on top of the feet. He's showing to the corner right here, hey, I'm decelerating, and I'm about to break, right? When you run this route, and we'll run it at full speed now, you want to look like you're flying downfield the whole time before at the last minute you snap this route off. So watch the chest and the shoulders come up, and it telegraphs to that corner like, hey, I'm about to break on this route. Now, flips his head real fast. There's still a throwing window here. Stafford gets pressured and the ball's behind. So it's not like it's Puka's his fault that this is incomplete, but it's a no on his route running. And we see it in other spots on his film. This play makes me laugh. Very funny play. Puka's up here. There's no motion this time. He's just straight running the dig. Get to the top of the route. This is a very like college move right here, right? Like this little stutter step and then flip your head one way. Talanoa Hufanga is never buying this, like not even once. And you have the bracket right here, right? So it's best to just get into this cut. Ball arrives directly on his hands, right? I mean, Stafford, this is like late in the game and they're trying to score two. They're going to score on 2 possessions and get back into a 2-score game. Like this is like a late rep. It's not a super meaningful rep, but at the same time, got to catch the football, right? And you're going to be further away from Hufanga, and it's going to be an easier throw if we're not wasting time here at the top of the route, right? This is never going to help us. All that conversation brings us to this play in which Puka's running the 12-yard stop, right? Like this is the money route for him. The back's coming out. I think the back is trying to pretend like he has an option route, but it's actually a mandatory outside cut. And then they've got just like a little like 3-man concept here to this side. But Puka right here, like you could go and work this 3-receiver side. You can go work this strong side if you want. Fred Warner heads over there and the numbers aren't great. And Stafford the whole time is just backside. Like the whole time he's like, I want these matchups right here. And look where the back is relative to Dre Greenlaw. Like if you're working this backside legitimately, like I would be throwing this right now. And he wants to throw Puka on the stop route with a corner who's right there. So like Stafford wants to throw the ball to this cat. Like I'm positive he does. You don't get 35 targets over 2 games unless a quarterback wants to throw it to you anyway. But he likes throwing it to Puka. Now, like we said, Puka not the best route runner, and so watch, like he has this big step to kill his momentum, right? That huge leap step right there to kill his momentum, and then he kind of stumbles and like loses his footing, like doesn't come out of the break clean. And so it's okay. Like our route running's not perfect. You also can watch Stafford in the pocket, and the timing of the route's not perfect, right? Here's the back foot. and then he has to pad the baby and then throw, right? There's that little like false step, little false start of the throwing motion because the timing's not exactly right. Like he wants Puka already to be turned and he isn't, so he has to take an extra beat. So like the route wasn't great on this play, and I don't even think the timing was right, which is totally fine for like second week of the season. He's a rookie receiver. Look at that catch. This is a very tough catch, right? Look at his momentum is bringing him to the middle of the field. He has to flip his hips all the way around and go catch this in his back pocket, and he does. And so when we start to try to answer the question, why is Puka producing like this? One, the quarterback trusts him, and you earn trust on plays like this where like not everything is neat, like it's not the tidiest play, but you still pay the quarterback off at the first down. And two, there's a lot of room for improvement on Puka. Like he's had these productive weeks, and so you're going to keep throwing him the football, but it's also really easy to go to the film room and say like, hey, we just got to like clean up some route stuff. We have to get a little bit smarter with our feet, and we could be doing even better than this. So Puka Nacua has earned Matthew Stafford's trust. It's cool. It's sick. He's producing. It's awesome. But the question that everybody wants answered is, can he keep doing this? Will he keep doing this when star wide receiver Cooper Kupp comes back from injury? The short and immediate answer is that Nacua can't keep producing like this, period. Puka currently accounts for 39.3% of the Rams' total target share, which is an astronomically high number. Last season, Davante Adams led the league at 32%. With 35 targets in 2 games, Nacua is on pace for 297.5 targets, which would shatter, it would blow out of the water the current NFL record of 208, which is not important right now, but Rob Moore had 208 targets in a season where he only caught 48%. That's bananas. They should have stopped throwing it to Rob Moore. Anyway, Nacua couldn't even keep this up if Kupp never came back. But Kupp's going to come back, and his role is inherently going to take a hit. Some of those targets are going to be redistributed to Kupp, and rightfully so. The nice thing is that their roles actually don't overlap as much as maybe you'd think. Yes, they're both like shallow depth of target players, kind of work more in the underneath area of the field. And yes, their greatest strengths are similar. They're both really QB friendly. They have like some tough yak to them, but the roles are very different. Here's a look at snap rate, just like where a receiver lined up when Matthew Stafford was the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams over the last 3 seasons. Kupp has been the primary slot receiver. Nacua has been primarily an outside receiver. When we look at where a player earns their targets, the disparity is even bigger. Kupp earns more than 3 times as many of his targets when running around from the slot than Nacua does. All of this data should be taken with a grain of salt. We're like 2 weeks into Nakua's career, and there's no way that like he's been so good at outside receiver that the Rams aren't going to be like, maybe we should try him in the slot. Like you're going to continue to do different stuff this season, but the routes that they've been targeting Nacua on are also different than the Kupp routes. Historically, the staple route of the McVay passing offense has been the crossing route. Guess which receiver has just like not run crossing routes? Puka Nacua. They've replaced those routes with slant routes, which McVay never ran and has now gotten a lot of in his offense for the success of Puka Nacua. Again, we don't have enough data to say this. We're 2 weeks in, but it feels like, and it looks like, there's a little bit of like a curated role for Nacua. There was an idea in the offseason. There was a moment where McVay and the offensive coaching staff sat down and said, okay, if Puka Nacua is to be successful, like we like what we're seeing, he seems talented, what's the best role for him? And then they found a way to establish that role in the offense, even though it wasn't intuitive, even though it wasn't a pre-established role. Like he's doing some of the Robert Woods stuff and some of the Cooper Kupp stuff, but really he's kind of doing like the Puka Nacua stuff. That right there is what makes me feel good about Nacua when Kupp comes back, because the Rams know how to make Cooper Kupp work. They've been doing that for a while. And they also know how to make Puka Nacua work. They've been doing that for the last 2 weeks. And there's some Venn diagram overlap, but there's not too much. And you can pick your spots for Kupp, and you can also pick your spots for Nacua. So when Kupp returns, Nakua's role will diminish, and rightfully so. He's freaking Cooper Kupp. But that won't change the fact that McVay knows how to use Nacua. And it won't change the fact that Nacua has earned Stafford's trust very quickly and paid him off with good performances. It won't change the fact that Nacua is now like a staple part of the Rams passing game. And that'll do it for us today on the Play Sheet. Week 2 episode, pretty good. Thank you to Richie Bozick for producing the episode. He's great at that. Thank you to Puka Nacua, and rookies, and you. Thank you for listening and watching, and click the videos and subscribe to the channel.